Welcome back to the library. Today I'll be discussing some more combined chapters of Brave New World. Chapter 12. But you always came before, John. Bernard so far is the only character who will call John by his name, and I think that's another thing that makes Bernard stand out in society. He understands humanity and how a name means identity, not the category of the individual. Bernard knows John is from the Savage Reservation, but he sees deeper than what's on the surface. This new way that leftists are emphasizing identity today annoys me. I've seen on a survey when they collect demographics, now do they not only ask you about race, whether you're Hispanic in origin or not, and what gender you are. A new category is invented, the self-identification category. I didn't even know what the hell they were trying to ask me. There was a multiple choice laundry list of supposed things you could choose that you identified with, one of the options being other.
What is that?
I just picked other, and in the box I typed an American because other than my name, that's literally all I think of when people ask me to identify myself. I always thought of identity as your full name, and that was it. Just think about the concept of identity theft. What do they steal? Your name? Think of what you answer when people ask, "Who are you?" Your name? All of the extra labels the woke have imposed on society have less to do with actual identity and more with them trying to fabricate personalities for themselves because they don't have any substance. Those of us with personalities don't care about labels because we're busy with our lives. We have better things to think about than which label best fits us. Labels are one of the least important things in my life. I feel like labels are most useful on inanimate objects. A label on a package that tells what kind of food is in the package. A label on a bottle that tells what kind of soap is in the bottle. Since inanimate objects cannot talk, the only way to know what they are is to read the label. That's the point of a label. As humans, we're not inanimate objects. We should have personalities. Our personalities are what are inside of our minds and hearts. That is part of what makes us human, not an arbitrary laundry list of labels. John had refused to come because he didn't like her. Lenina had a thought, and that was her thought. So Lenina now thinks of John by his first name, while also feeling attraction for the first time in her life. Two things here. The first, John grew up with a full brain as he wasn't bred in a test tube and he was born the natural way. The second, because John has a full brain, he has a personality. And that's what I think Lenina is attracted to. John is interesting. He's different from everyone else Lenina has ever known. So she's curious about him. This quote refers to a party Lenina was having where she had invited John but he hadn't shown up, and so Lenina is upset because she thinks John doesn't like her. I think that is why variety is important. Things become boring when they're all the same. The civilization values efficiency above all else, so sure, their world is very efficient, but no one is fulfilled. Everyone is bored, so when someone different comes into town, some people, like Lenina, become curious because they are starving for something different. A pity, he thought as he signed his name. It was a masterly piece of work. But once you began admitting explanations in terms of purpose, well, you didn't know what the result might be. It was the sort of idea that might easily decondition the more unsettled minds among the higher castes, make them lose their faith and happiness as the sovereign good and take to believing instead that the goal was somewhere beyond, somewhere outside the present human sphere, that the purpose of life was not the maintenance of well-being, but some intensification and refining of consciousness, some enlargement of knowledge, which was, the controller reflected, quite possibly true, but not in the present circumstance admissible. Totalitarians are always suppressing ideas, especially good ideas. It's almost always true that the totalitarian is aware the idea is good, but they feel entitled to keep that idea away from everyone else. If they let the good idea through, they will most definitely be challenged to give up their power. And that is the totalitarian's biggest fear, that they will lose their power. This is what legacy media does all the time. They only report on what they're told to report, even if they know that they shouldn't be spreading propaganda or that their time would be better spent reporting about the actual truth. They would rather push the narrative they've been told to regurgitate and claim that the narrative is truth in order to help the totalitarians stay in power and therefore remain in power themselves. Chapter 13. I wanted to do something first. To show that I was worthy of you. Not that I could ever really be that, but at any rate to show I wasn't absolutely unworthy. I wanted to do something. Why should you think it necessary, Lenina began, but left the sentence unfinished. There was a note of irritation in her voice. So this sentence is about John wanting to do a romantic gesture for Lenina. But she's ignorant as to what that means because she's been conditioned to believe promiscuity is admirable behavior. And John wants to make her feel special and show his love, but she's irritated by that concept. This reminds me of what I feel is the left's desire to erase romance. I heard on a show called Feel Good that a romantic gesture is misogynistic because the woman doesn't get a chance to consent to the gesture. It's called a surprise for a reason, dumbass. You don't know it's coming, but it's from someone whom you've been dating or someone who has a crush on you. They're probably trying to enhance your life with the surprise. It's usually a good thing. People aren't supposed to consent to surprises. That's the whole fucking point. Common sense, people. Surprises are designed to create a feeling of emotion, and sure, sometimes the surprise doesn't go well and you have a different feeling, but then you work through those emotions. But the left, as we know, hates happiness, or at least genuine happiness, that's created from something other than a fake sense of belonging, validation, affirmation, etc. that they get when they say the pre-approved robotic slogans they love so much. That's all for chapters 12 and 13. I'll see you on the next video.